Migration is one issue that has surfaced in the headlines with the recent xenophobic attacks happening in Durban, and 62% of South Africans say government is doing a bad job of managing immigration issues. That's according to the 2018 Afrobarometer survey. Well, to tell us more about what they found, I'm joined by Afrobarometer's communications coordinator for Southern Africa, that's Gugu Nonjinge, and she's in Cape Town for us this morning. Gugu, a very good morning to you. So you've done the survey. What is the issue that South Africans have with immigrants? Are we saying we don't want to have people from other countries here, or are we saying that government needs to manage this better and needs to manage the numbers of immigrants coming in better?
So basically the data shows that South Africans actually, about 6 in 10 of them, actually say that the government is doing horribly or doing fairly bad in managing issues of migration and immigration in the country. However, what we're seeing in the data as well is the fact that South Africans are actually tolerant towards immigrants in the country and also people from different ethnic groups. But though what we also find very interesting is the fact that they're actually divided in some of the policy recommendations that were made in the 2017 white paper on international immigration in the country. Most of them want immigrants in the country as neighbors, but when we look at these policies, they actually restrict them into coming into the country when you're looking in areas of economic importance and so forth. Okay,
so if you could break it down for us and give us an idea, where are we seeing South Africans where? You know, who are these people that seem to be saying we are tolerant, but this is the issue because we also have South Africans who are only too happy to employ immigrants because they know that they can pay them less?
We can see that majority of those who actually say that South Africa must bar immigrants from getting jobs or working in South Africa, majority of those are, of course, those who are unemployed, and majority of them are in the rural South Africa. Those are the people really who are actually unemployed and are seeking employment. Those are the people who have certain perceptions that are very different from the rest of the country. When we're looking at economic conditions in the country, they are the ones who say, in as much as we are actually agreeing that we might have immigrants and those of different ethnic groups as neighbors, but actually South Africa needs to bar these people from actually getting jobs in the country.
Okay, so are they happy, though, to have, say, for example, those who are fleeing civil war, those who are fleeing hardships in their countries? Are South Africans okay when you say tolerant? Is that the tolerance we're talking about, where we can keep them here, keep them safe for a little while, but eventually they must go home? Is that what we're reading into this?
So the acceptance of those who are being politically persecuted in their countries and seeking political protection in South Africa, there's a very small percentage, about 3 in 10 South Africans actually say, no, we should allow them to come and seek protection in the country. So when I talk about tolerance, I talk about the bare minimum, that they actually agree that these people can be their neighbors, can live in the same neighborhoods, share food with them. However, when we're looking at policy recommendations like them getting political protection in the country, people are actually not even interested in that. They want South Africa to actually enclose itself.
Okay, now, did you also find perhaps that we have a preference for people from specific countries? Because when we had the issue with Malawians coming up in Durban just a couple of weeks ago, you know, I read a comment where somebody said, but why are the Malawians, what were they fleeing, you know, to be able to come here? Zimbabwe, we understand. We also understand, you know, if we see what's happening in Mozambique, if they had to come, but Malawi, and why should we be responsible for housing Malawians anyway? And they're asking government to take them back.
I think the data doesn't actually show in terms of what country South Africans actually perceive as the ones that they would actually allow in the country, or citizens from a specific country. The data doesn't disaggregate by that. However, we can disaggregate by socio-demographics. However, what I've found interesting is the fact that South Africans in general see themselves as secluded from the rest of the continent. It's as if South Africa is a different world on its own. So even if people are coming from neighboring countries or within the region, or even from North Africa, South Africans still treat them the same. There's no exception. And that's a general feeling, and that is my perception in terms of this is what the citizens are saying in the country, and they really can't disaggregate in terms of who's coming where and when.
And just to wrap it up for us, Gugu, what do they want government to do?
I think South Africans want government to actually provide jobs. The most important problems in South Africa right now is housing, and that's what the data is showing. Leading up to the general elections, I think that's something that government needs to put in the forefront for citizens. Not actually make empty promises, but also based on the data. See what is it that actually matters the most. Issues of employment and, of course, housing are one of the top two that I can think of from the data.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And that's Afrobarometer's Gugu Nonjinge. She's in our Cape Town studio just explaining to us why South Africans feel that governments here is not managing the immigrant influx and what it's doing to ordinary South Africans.